a PhD from Cardiff Metropolitan University, and Madam her research interest is mainly on security, data protection, privacy, data protection in legislation, and policy development. She has several significant publications in reputed journals, and Madam has also awarded with the Student of the Year in the year 2019 2020 by the Chartered Institute of Information Security in recognition to her academic excellence and contribution to information security. So, with this brief introduction, I welcome you, Madam, for this ATAL sponsored FDP on innovations in smart agriculture. I welcome you, Madam. You can take over the session.
Thank you so much for the introduction. Can you guys hear me? Can you all hear me?
I think a little bit it's below.
Perfect. Okay. Again, thank you so much for the introduction. As she said, I'm Dr. Vibhushini Bantatewa. So I work for School of Technologies at Cardiff Metropolitan University. So in this presentation, the overview of the presentation is mainly relying on the Internet of Things in line with Sujata's funding call. But the focus of this presentation is not going to be technical, because in line with my existing research, I'm going to focus more on the challenges and privacy and security issues associated with the IoTs. Before I talk about the challenges and the issues associated with the IoTs, I would like to start with the positives. So let's first look at the overview of IoTs, and this is something all of you know, but just to give an overview for those who are not familiar with IoTs and also IoEs. So talking about the IoEs is mainly, you can call them as an interconnected physical objects that we can access through the internet. And also it has the ability to transfer data without any human to human or human to computer interactions.
Excuse me, ma'am.
Sorry.
It's too much echoing, ma'am.
Oh, okay.
Some participants are mostly unmuted.
All right. Okay. Would you like me to do anything from my end?
No, madam.
Voice is echoing, ma'am.
I am not sure.
I think the participants has to check from their end.
Yeah, ma'am.
Thank you.
Please, coordinators, inform the participants to unmute.
Am I okay to continue?
Okay, madam.
Oh, okay, that's okay. All right. So what I said was like, unfortunately, this can't be like kind of like interactive session. But in terms of like, we will be looking at the different type of IoTs that we are using across different sectors before actually we're talking about the challenges and etc. So one of the things is when you look at the IoTs, they're here, and again, the amount of IoTs we can see, it is increasing day by day. So IoTs are here, obviously, to change the world that we used to know a couple of years back. And that is why it is okay to embrace all these new technologies, but at the same time we need to be mindful about the privacy and security issues associated with these technologies, as well as the benefits, advantages, and the opportunities that they're going to offer us. In terms of the challenges, I think the biggest thing is like over the past few years, IoT has become one of the most important technologies in the 21st century. So nowadays we can connect like more or less every object to the internet. So this can include, like if you look at your kitchen, so we're talking about kitchen appliances which are connected to the internet. So now we're talking about autonomous cars. It could be about like baby monitors or thermostats which are connected to the internet. So most importantly, they provide seamless communication, possibly between people, processes, and things. So there is a I mean, it is in a way fair to say that we are in a hyper-connected world which can record, monitor, and adjust all these interactions between the connected devices or connected things. So usually, using IoT, by using IoTs, what we try to do is we try to connect the physical world to the digital world, and also it enables the physical world to interact and also to cooperate with the digital world. So despite all of these benefits that they're going to offer, so this is where we have to actually carefully think about the issues associated with these connected devices. So it could be like issues related to hacking of these internet connected devices. It could be things like around the surveillance concerns. Another one of the biggest thing is the amount, because of the amount of data that they collect, they process, they store, they share. There are lots of like privacy and security issues associated with these things. So on one side, it is fair to say, because of the benefits that these IoTs are offering to the people in general, the public, and also offering the governments or the companies, people are very much interested in knowing the technology and also to understand how we would be able to use the technology to make our lives so much easier. But at the same time, because of the security and privacy related issues, it is fair to say that it has actually captured the public attention. So in terms of the examples, obviously, I'm pretty sure that all of you know, if I ask you for some examples, you would be able to give me plenty of examples. And for an example, I'm not going to ask you, but if you think about your home, think about how many IoT devices that you have. I'm pretty sure you have at least more than 3 or 5 IoT devices. And then if you go to your university, again, there you would be interacting, or you would be using a lot of different type of IoT devices. So I have given you a very small list of some examples of IoT devices. So apart from the ones that are on the slide, obviously IoTs can be sometimes a person with a heart monitoring implant, or it could be an animal with a biochip, or sometimes like when you look at the automobile sector, so you can have like built-in sensors to alert drivers when the pressure is low, or it could be about like the natural or the man-made object that has the ability to assign an IP address, and that has the ability to transfer data. So all these things can be considered as IoT devices. So in terms of the number of devices, I'm not going to give you the exact number, because if you read literature, different researchers, they have come up with different numbers. But however, one thing you need to understand is the number of IoT devices you see today will definitely increase in a couple of times or even a couple of months. So if you try to do a comparison, you would be able to see a significant increase, especially over the past couple of years. So and also I think it is important, even though this presentation is mainly on Internet of Things, before we go further, I think it is important to understand the difference between IoTs and IOEs. So IoTs, as you know, stands for Internet of Things, and IOEs stands for Internet of Everything. So if you look at IOEs, which is Internet of Everything, so it is kind of like an expansion of IoTs, which actually connects people, processes, data, and what they try to do is they try to create more kind of like interconnected and intelligent network systems using all these devices, people, processes, and data. So very briefly, a little bit of history around IoTs. I think before we started talking about IoTs, I mean, people did everything manually. So if they wanted to collect data, they had to do it manually. The processing, they had to do it manually. And when it comes to data storage, now we talk about like cloud computing. I mean, those days we had traditional ways of like storing data. But then again, one thing was like the collection was very difficult because we always talk about the importance of collecting accurate data, but like if we have a lot of different type of data sets, and if they're coming in different volumes and different formats, it's not an easy task for a human being to collect, process all these type of different data. So when we talk about IoTs, we also talk about big data. So big data is all about different type of data coming in large quantities, coming from all over the places, and coming from in different formats as well. So I think one of the problems, like especially like when they invented the internet, then people were so much interacting with the internet, obviously because of the usefulness of the internet, and also at the same time they tend to share a lot of information on the online platforms as well. So what happened was with the people's like limited time, and also when we're talking about the data integrity, the accuracy, it became a real challenge, especially when they capture the data, when they process data, and etc. So I think that is when like the things became so much difficult, especially with the birth of the Internet of Things, because in a minute we are talking about like the collection of large amount of data from all these like from different sensors, for an example, and then how it's going to impact the sector in a positive way, but also there are like security and privacy issues associated with mass collection and processing of the data as well. So when we talk about the history of the IoT, so I think it is fair to give the credit to Kevin Ashton, who was the first kind of like the first person who came up with or explained the idea of connected devices. But they later on, I mean, these days we can find a lot of like advanced stuff, advanced examples of IoTs, but I don't think it is fair to say it is a very new concept, because as you can see on the slide, they have been like talking about Internet of Things in 1980s as well. So one of the first kind of like examples is the first internet appliance, which is the Coke vending machine. So what happened was the vending machine was like micro switches were installed in the vending machines. And then that helped the students to get notifications when the Coke that they had in the machine is cold enough for them to use. And then afterwards, we can see like talking about the connected toasters. And I quite like the example in 1991, where a group of students, they came up with the idea to use the first web camera prototype to monitor the amount of coffee available in their computer lab coffee pot. So what they have done was like programming the web camera to take, I think, the photos every 3 minutes of the coffee pot. So then that was basically sent to the local computer, so everyone could see if the coffee was available. And then afterwards, like even going beyond that, now we have like smart refrigerators. It's not just LG now, like there are lots of other companies who have like come up with smart refrigerators, which actually helps the consumers to track the amount of food that they have, and if they're obviously running out of food, then it has the capacity to like help them order food from their favorite grocery store. And also I think on the other hand, it helps with the sustainability side of things as well. Sometimes like when you go shopping, and if you don't have a count of like how many tomatoes you have in the fridge, for an example, then probably you might be like buying stuff for the safe side, and then it could lead to like food waste and etc. So I think things like that would be able to manage with the integration of these smart devices and also IoTs. And yeah, these days we talk about driverless cars, autonomous vehicles, and this is something that especially like in a minute we are going to talk about smart cities. So this is something that we can see in smart cities as well, and also smart thermostats. I think it is quite useful for these days for us, is because the temperature is very, very low. So we can obviously remotely control the central heating with smart thermostats as well. Okay, so those are just a couple of examples where we used the IoTs, not in recent years like in the past, but as I said, if you look at the situation at the moment, we have more advanced stuff, and then again, like in a couple of years time, then we will have like more advanced stuff in the future. But and also apart from of these individual devices, we also have seen instances where some countries, they're trying to integrate smart technologies such as IoTs to create or to build the smart city concept, and also sometimes they do talk about smart building concepts as well. So one of them is the Switzerland. So in 2012, Swiss Federal Office of Energy, they introduced the Smart City pilot program. So what they did was, sorry. So what they did was they relied heavily on Internet of Things technologies in this pilot program. So I mean, especially like when we talk about the smart city concept. So IoT devices, they enable cities to connect physical infrastructure. It could be like street lights, buildings, or it could be energy grids to the digital network using sensors and other smart devices. So the benefit of this is these connected systems, they allow cities to collect data in the real time, and also most importantly, by using these data that they collect in real time, they would be able to make prompt decisions, and also can be like the decisions can be automated and data driven as well. So it's not just the Switzerland, but if you read a little bit of literature, you would be able to find countries like countries like Singapore, Oslo, Taiwan. So they have integrated IoTs quite a lot into their smart city development projects. So they use network of sensors and connected devices to basically monitor the traffic. It could be to monitor the use of energy, environmental conditions, and by doing that, what they try to do is they try to use these devices to improve efficiency and also responsiveness across the city as well. So and also, like when we're talking about the is everything all right? Anyone got any questions? Sorry. Anyone got any questions? No, okay. And also when we're looking at these countries, specifically, so for an example, like Singapore, if you take Singapore, I think it is fair to say Singapore is one of the leading country when it comes to the smart city development. So they have integrated IoTs in areas like, for instance, what you call traffic management, healthcare, and also in the sustainability management side of things. And Oslo is also one of the countries who have actually used IoT, especially to monitor and improve the air quality. And then if you look at Barcelona, for an example, I think they have integrated a lot of IoT sensors for smart lighting systems, which actually helps the pedestrians. And also these days we talk about smart parking. So Barcelona has integrated IoTs to help drivers with parking, and also to reduce traffic as well. So I think in general, it is fair to say IoTs play a central role in smart city development operations. And then also going beyond these examples, when it comes to like waste management. So we have seen instances where we talk about smart waste bins, so which actually use sensors to detect the amount of waste that they have, and then it would help the county or the council to decide the collection routes and the best possible way to collect them, and also best possible ways to try and reduce the fuel consumption that is used when collecting all these bins, and also then it will lead to the reduction in emissions as well. So and also in terms of like energy efficiency, because sustainability is something that we talk a lot these days, and this is something that we really need as well. So IoT enabled smart meters, and also like building sensors, monitor electricity. It could be like the use of heating in real time would help cities, especially to reduce energy waste as well. And also the other thing is the transportation sector, because I mean, again, when we're talking about the sustainability, it is about providing sustainable transportation as well. So IoTs, they can support this mission through like smart traffic lights, and it could be like what do you call, connected public transport systems, because then what they can do is using IoT and the sensors, they would be able to like monitor the traffic in real time, and then they would be able to try and find ways to reduce the congestion and the pollution as well. I think the other sector is the healthcare sector. So these days we talk about the medicine, and then IoTs having been integrated, and it has the potential to enable remote health monitoring as well. But on the, I mean, as you can see, there are lots of like positives that the integration of IoTs across these different sectors can offer. But on the other hand, it is important for us to understand the risks and the potential challenges. I think one of the biggest thing is here is the digital security. So that is essential, because IoT systems, they constantly exchange data, they constantly collect data. So having secure networks and also the encrypted communications in order to protect the collected information is very, very important these days. And talking about the importance of the positives of the IoTs, without any doubt, we have, I mean, especially, I mean, we have seen how much it is helping people with their lives, and also to enhance the quality of the people's living as well. I mean, in order to ensure that in our day-to-day life, even if you think about your home, you would be able to come across range of different devices. I'm not going to give you examples, but yeah, you would be able to come across lots of devices. And then like going beyond the individual level, if you go to your the city level, then or the state level. So we have seen, as I just explained, we have seen countries trying to come up with or develop smart cities. So when you look at the smart cities, so the sensors, they basically use sensors to monitor things and collect data, and then they would be able to use that data set to make decisions in the real time. And the the other thing is, the other positive thing is, when we talk about the use of IoTs, it is not just like people and the states, and also even going beyond that. So we have seen like different sectors, different companies using these technologies. So that is good, but the thing is, looking at the amount of data that they collect, handle, so it is important to govern some of these things, to make sure that there won't be any privacy and security risks in the future. So from the company perspective, because we talk about the human perspective, yes, it helps people to enhance the quality of their living. But from the company perspective, it basically helps automating processes. That means it reduces labor costs and also reduce waste. And then they would be able to provide high quality service to their clients. There is no doubt that there are lots of like positives associated with IoT. So next thing that we would need to look at is the different technologies that are sort of like associated with the IoTs, because I think based on some of these key technologies associated with IoTs, when we look at the risks and challenges, because of the existing technologies, it can also raise some of the risks. So that is why it is important to have a good understanding of the other key technologies associated with the IoTs. I think AI is one of the biggest things. Advanced assessing, basically neural networks, they have brought the neural language processing to IoT devices. So what it means is it enhances your refrigerator or the cabinet to detect the amount of milk, for instance, that you have, the amount of favorite cereal that you have. So obviously when it is running low, then they would be able to sort of like, you know, to inform the user. So, and the other one thing is the connectivity. I think connectivity is one of the biggest things, because as I mentioned at the start, we have to have a good connection to use IoTs and also to gather information. So when we talk about the connectivity, so it basically helps connecting these devices effectively, and also it helps in effectively transferring the data as well. So this is where, when we talk about the risks, especially like privacy and security risks, we're talking about different type of attacks that can happen, especially due to like poor configurations, but might be because that you're using outdated software. So those are some of the things that we need to be very mindful. And then we will be looking at like how to overcome those challenges as well. Sensors, I think it is fair to say like IoTs will lose its distinction without the sensors. So because, which basically transforms IoTs from a standard passive network of devices into like active systems, which are capable of integrating with the real world. So, oh, sorry. And the other thing is, we when we're talking about IoTs, we are using, or we have range of small devices. So IoTs, I mean basically purpose-built small devices. They deliver services in order to enhance the scalability. And the other most important thing is the cloud-based platform. So if not for them, the organizations, they'll have to manage infrastructure on their own. And however, with this, the business can then easily access the infrastructure and then get access to the infrastructure that they need. Because I mean, I know it's a different conversation, but then because otherwise they'll have to invest a lot of money on the infrastructure, they'll look after, and they'll have to look after the infrastructure as well. So it's not going to be, it's very costly for the organizations. And then the use of machine learning and analytics as well. Because but what it does is it helps making predictions so fast, especially like looking at the amount of the data that they get, because they have to make prompt decisions. And I mean, in general, the emerging of all these technologies, they basically kind of like, I think it is fair to say, they try to push the boundaries of IoTs, and also because of the data they collect and process, in a way, on one side it supports the enhancement of the technology and the innovation side, but on the other hand, I think that is where we have to be very careful when it comes to the privacy and security side of things. And then before we, it is nowadays that we are talking about the use of robots, or autonomous vehicles, and also what you call the IoTs. But I think it is useful to be aware of how things have changed over the last couple of years. I think this is where it is important to kind of like refresh our memories on what happened in the first industrial revolution and how it sort of like expanded up to what we have today. I mean, in the first period, so in the industrial revolution one, it was very clear, because I mean, there has been like major industrialization and innovation, and then that basically, this revolution that affected the social, cultural, economic conditions. So and also it is fair to say this basically left a profound impact on how people lived, the way the businesses operated, as well as the capitalism, and also as well as how the modern societies which we have today have evolved, and etc. So and also as a part of this industrial revolution, the society basically shifted from using tools of making products to use new source of energy such as like petroleum and power machines as well. So the innovation basically makes labor more effective and productive as well. So also this is when the manufacturing of goods, they were moved from small shops and home to like bigger or large factories. And then as a result of that, then people had to move out and then moved into the bigger cities. And then with that, now we are talking about the creation of smart cities. And then when it comes to the industrial revolution second part, again the kind of like there was a like wide adoption of pre-existing technologies, and also in this period we could see a huge movement of people to cities, and also we could see like lots of innovations as well. And I think in the industrial revolution 3, more or less the same, they were like looking at like mass production, doing a lot of like focusing on the innovation side as well. So we are basically in the industrial revolution 4.0. So this is where we talk about like Internet of Things, robots, autonomous vehicles, and etc. And the other thing what we sort of like focus these days is the combined technologies. So for example, it could be like IoTs combined with, sorry, artificial intelligence combined with drones. But I mean, relating to this presentation, so when we talk about combined technologies, it could be like IoTs combined with artificial intelligence, for an example. So IoT devices, they have the ability to collect large amount of data in the real time, basically through sensors. So on the other hand, we have artificial intelligence, which has the ability to analyze the data to identify patterns, to make predictions, and also it helps to automate decisions as well. So if you look at the healthcare sector, for an example, and I mean IoT wearable devices, this is something that they use quite often, and it has the capacity to collect patient vital signs, and then by collecting those information, the AI can be used in order to analyze the data to detect early signs of diseases, and also it can be used to trigger emergency alerts. And then if you look at like IoTs and cloud computing, for example, so the cloud computing, what it does is it provides scalable storage and computer power for IoT data. So it allows data from all these IoT devices to be accessed, processed, and also managed remotely. So if you're talking at the smart home concept, in a smart home, we would be like finding lots of IoT devices. So what they do is they send the data to the cloud, and then the users, they would be able to monitor and control their homes from anywhere they live. So likewise, these days we're not necessarily talking about these individual technologies. We're trying to see how we're going to combine some of these technologies together to make our lives so much easier, and to also to come up with innovative plans. And then it is a really good thing. We need to welcome all these innovations, but at the same time, we need to be mindful about the type of security and privacy issues associated with combining these different technologies. So when we talk about the trends, so as I have mentioned, like over the past couple of years, the number of IoT devices and the use of them across different sectors have changed hugely. So this is where, I mean, we have seen, for instance, like we did talk about the smart cities, but aerospace companies, we have seen them adopting IoT devices, like especially IoT sensors. It could be to monitor aircraft components, it could be to monitor the engine performance, sometimes to monitor environmental conditions, especially like for health and safety reasons. And then because of all these benefits, and also because of all these automations, it helps the sector to reduce a lot of money associated with like maintenance cost, and sometimes the labor cost as well. And then the energy sector, especially in line with the concept of like developing sustainable or enhancing the sustainability. So in the energy sector, we have seen a lot of instances where they integrate like IoT and then use of them to create smart grids to monitor power generation, transmission, consumption, and also it has the ability to monitor the reliability and in order to improve efficiency as well. And then we also have the utility companies using IoT sensors. Could be to detect leaks. It could be to manage the utility services. It could be to look after the distribution side of things, and etc. So likewise, I mean, lots of sectors they have integrated IoTs to do for different purposes. So if you look in a little bit more detail, so for an example, healthcare sector, I think IoTs are very, very popular in the healthcare sector. So basically to improve the patient care and also to improve the operational efficiency as well. So one of the basic things is the wearable devices, and then you can have like remote monitoring sensors that basically has the ability to track things like heart rate. It could be the blood pressure, it could be the glucose levels, and that the most important thing is they will be doing all these things in real time. So the benefit or the positive of this is we're talking about the telemedication these days. So this basically allows doctors to monitor patients remotely, and then they would also be able to detect the health issues well in advance, and then that basically reduce the pressure on the doctors, nurses at the hospitals, and also in the transportation sector. In the transportation sector as well. I mean, one of the problems that we have these days is the use of their own personal vehicles on the roads instead of relying on public transportation systems. But the argument from the people's side is like sometimes the buses, they don't turn up in time, and sometimes because of the traffic they might not be able to get to where they want to go in a timely manner. So that is why they prefer to use their own transportation system. And also it's the flexibility. Sometimes you might have the buses on a particular road, but not probably might be every hour, not necessarily in a sort of like in regular intervals. Using IoTs in the transportation sector, they basically enable traffic management. That is one of the biggest things. And also the other one is the connected vehicles. So we have sensors, we have GPS systems, which actually helps collecting the real-time data. It could be on the traffic flows, vehicle locations, and it could be even about the road conditions as well. Because because recently, for example, in UK we had heavy snowfalls, and then if we knew well in advance which roads were affected, then probably we would have been able to sort of like arrange our transportation, and also if we knew we have to be in somewhere in a certain time, we could sort of like arrange those things well in advance. So the integration of IoT, especially in the transportation sector, it basically helps to reduce congestions, improve public transport scheduling, and road safety side as well. So, and the education sector. So I think one thing is, obviously we talk about smart cities, smart buildings, and also the other thing is smart classrooms. So I think IoTs are supporting or contributing towards this concept a lot. If you look at the educational setting, this is where we have like smart boards, we have like sensors to take attendance. If you try to do it manually, if you have like 100 plus students in a classroom, it is very challenging. And also the other thing is because this IoT devices, it has the ability to collect the real-time data in real time. It basically helps improving the learner experience as well. And then So kind of like it's not just within the classroom, and it's outside the classroom as well, in order to monitor the behavior of the students, to identify identify their interactions or their behavior outside the classroom. These are some of the technologies that we would be able to use. And then manufacturing industry, I think, especially like in factories, we have seen instances where they use sensors to monitor machine performances. It could be because sometimes we have to maintain a certain temperature to monitor the existing temperatures. We would be able to use the sensors. And then also to monitor the performance of the machineries, because if there is a downtime, and then that's going to sort of like impact the organization in general, because they might probably, there might be like deadlines they have to meet, and they wouldn't be able to meet those deadlines is because of the downtimes that they have. And also to enhance or improve the productivity, because everything is automated. That also is a benefit that the manufacturing sector would be able to get by integration of IoTs. And the agriculture sector, I think it is one of the biggest things, because there are lots of countries who are relying on the agriculture sector heavily. And sometimes with the agriculture sector is because there could be like unexpected natural disasters. So those things, it's very hard to sort of like predict them. But I think with the integration of IoT devices, it, at least up to some extent, it helps the farmers to measure soil conditions or temperature, humidity, and also I think it is fair to say it optimizes the irrigation and fertilizer use as well. So and also it is not just about the traditional farming, but it's also like livestock farming. So basically to monitor the health of those animals, and then they keep a track of those conditions. They would be able to use IoTs. And then when you talk about the crops, I think it basically helps the farmers to get an idea of like how to, when they have to do the harvesting, and at least kind of like make they would be able to use them to make some predictions, and they would be able to make rational decisions in a timely manner. And the other thing is the use of IoTs in the media sector. I think it is very commonly we always do talk about the use of IoTs in those sectors such as like healthcare, transportation, education, manufacturing, and agriculture. Sorry. But I think that we need to have more conversation around the use of IoTs going beyond those sectors, in such as like in the media sector, because the one thing is the IoTs, they have the ability to transform the media sector into a smart sector by basically enabling by enabling creation of smart content, and it changes the way that we use to distribute those content. And also, most importantly, I think it has an impact on how we integrate with the audience as well. So and I think one of the biggest thing is IoTs, they help to personalize the content delivery. So for an example, streaming platforms, they suggest shows, or it could be like music basically based on the viewing behavior across the connected devices. And then we have something called connected cameras, and also the lighting system, so which basically has the capacity to automatically adjust the settings during a live broadcast, for an example. And also the IoTs, they have the capacity to kind of like interact with the audience in the real time. So I think that because as a result of that, especially like in live TV shows, and especially in the sport events, viewers, they have the ability to participate through smart devices such as like mobile phone apps and etc. So I think those are some of the benefits that the IoTs will offer in the media sector, and also that even at the moment, those are some of the benefits that they offer to the media sector. So I think as we have like had a chance to talk about different sectors and the use of IoTs across different sectors, it is very clear overall the IoT basically helps enhancing the operational efficiency. It helps reducing the downtime. One of the biggest thing is it helps support the sustainability and etc. So the next sorry, I don't know why my slides are not moving. Okay, yeah. So after, I believe now that you have at least a basic understanding of like the use of IoTs across different sectors and what kind of like benefits that it offer the organizations and the users as well. So a little bit about the advantages of these to the organization. So one thing is basically it helps improve the customer engagement, which basically allows organizations to interact with the customers in real time. So I mean, we have seen that in my in my explanations previously. So they basically collect the data in real time, and then use data, and then they use basically in order to respond to people's need in an efficient manner. They can rely on this data. So for example, this is where we did talk about like use of smart devices to provide personalized services. It could be to send maintenance alert, sometimes to provide real-time support in order to improve the overall customer experience. So likewise, the use of IoTs across these sectors, one of the biggest thing is it clearly helps improve the customer engagement. And the next one is the technology optimization. So like by connecting systems and devices, the organizations, they can monitor performance, and also they would be able to identify any inefficiencies, and then it allows the organization to sort of like better use existing technologies, reduce downtime, and also to kind of like help smarter decision making as well. And then reduce waste, again, that links to the sustainability concept, because the sensors, we can use them to monitor the resource usage. And especially when I was talking about the utility services, I did say they can use the IoTs to detect any leaks and etc. So everything basically helps towards cost saving and also support sustainability goals as well. And the other most important thing is because of the ability of IoT devices to reduce waste, it helps to minimize the environmental impact as well. So, and another one is the enhanced data collection. So there are two sides to this story, and I think this is where it nicely leads into my next slide, which mainly focuses on the disadvantages and then the challenges and so on. So it is quite clear, and there is no doubt the IoTs, they help collect data. And that data, I mean, this is where we talk about the big data. So organizations, they rely heavily on big data and they need big data. But I mean, when you look at the existing data regulation policies, there is a kind of like because in line with the existing data protection mechanism. So for example, if you look at GDPR, what it says is you have to collect only the limited or minimum, only the right amount of data. But the big data concept is different, because what they do is they collect a lot of data from all these different connected devices. So organizations, they need those data, but from organization perspective, what they say is we need this data, because what we do is using this data, we make decisions in order to to enhance their services, to provide a good quality service to their customers. But from GDPR or from data protection side, the question or the challenge they have is, due to the large amount of data, due to the different formats of data that they are collecting, the question is how long they're going to keep the data, and would the organization be able to keep the data for a keep large amount of data for a long time? Can they afford that? So, and those who work with those data set, do they have the knowledge to use those data? And also, if you look at GDPR, for an example, one of the criteria is if you collect data from someone, you have to have the consent. But we are talking about IoTs and the use of sensors to collect data. But the question is, in that particular instance, we won't be getting any consent from someone. Like, for instance, like the basic example is CCTV. CCTV cameras are everywhere, but I mean, nobody's going to take consent from us because I mean, the CCTVs, they record all our movements, but no one has taken our consent to capture us on those CCTV cameras. I mean, in reality, it is difficult. So that is why I think, from my perspective, it is important, whatever the existing data protection mechanisms need to focus on, like how to get this balance right between the innovation and the big data, and also the balance between innovation, big data, and also on the other hand, the privacy and security side. So talking about the disadvantage, I think one of the biggest thing is the increased security concern. So as you have seen, it's due to the amount of devices that we have, the ways that they are collecting, the type of data that they are collecting, and all these things leads to the increased security concerns. So I mean, lots of devices are connected to the internet, and the number of potential entry points for cyber attackers are also increasing. So many IoT devices, they have limited built-in security. Because of that, it can make them vulnerable to hacking. It could be what you call data breaches, and sometimes for unauthorized access as well. I think the other problem with this is sometimes there is a high demand, and then the manufacturers, they struggle to meet that demand. So what they try to do is, their priority is to get those systems or technologies out to the market. But this is where they have to make sure that they do the basics checks, and they make sure that all these devices that they're going to release have high security, and they don't have any bugs or vulnerabilities. And because otherwise, without those basic checks, if they release them to the market and then people started using them, and that can cause like things like data breaches or privacy violations. So this is where I think, like in GDPR, for example, there are two concepts. One is privacy by design, and the other one is privacy by default. So I think especially as you know, when we are talking about the software development life cycle, in the design stage, these are some of the things that they have to actually consider. How are we going to ensure privacy by design, and how are we going to ensure privacy by default? So yeah, these are some of the ways that you would be able to minimize the issues associated with the security concerns. And then the data management issues are one of the another problems that they have. So in line with GDPR, what they say is you just have to collect the right amount of data. And before you do that, you have to have the consent from the data subject to collect the data. And once you have the consent, you just have to collect just the right amount of data, not too much or not too little. So, and also they also highlight the importance of protecting these data. So if you don't require the data, I mean, if once you collect data, you have to specify how long you're going to keep the data. You can't keep the data for longer than that is needed. It's because they know if someone try to keep the data forever, for an example. So if that particular data set contains any personal sensitive data, so what it means is then the organizations, they have to invest a lot of money, time to protect these data sets. So that is why they have said you need to, first thing is you need to make sure that you protect the data. And also I mean, we can't say that even though we have put all the measures in place, we can't say whatever the data that we have in place is 100% safe. So this is why, I mean, in the worst case scenario, if there is a data breach, then you'll have to inform the data subject in a timely manner. I think the other thing is, before it comes to the worst case scenario, what it highlights is it is important, once they collect the data, not to keep the personally identifiable information. So what they can do is, so for example, if it is an educational institute, they might want to keep they might collect data with the consent from the data subject, and they might want to keep that data set for a longer period. It's for probably educational purposes or research purposes. So I think the best approach for them in that particular instance is to anonymize data. So if you remove all the personally identifiable information, then the perpetrators, even if they got access to the databases, in the worst case scenario, they wouldn't be able to identify the individual. So, but coming back to the issues, I think, yeah, data management is one of the biggest challenge that they have. So it is mainly because IoT systems generate large amount of data, and it is difficult to store, process, and store them unless they have strong mechanisms in place to do that. So obviously, without any proper data management strategies, then the organizations, they may face issues. It could include like storage cost, it could be like difficulties in extracting meaningful data, and also if they fail to protect the data that they have in place, that there would be reputational damage, and also on the other hand, they might even end up paying huge fines. So yeah, so they have to they need to carefully think about those things as well. And the other one disadvantage is higher chances of system corruptions in IoT environments, is because the devices are interconnected. A failure, or it could be a compromise in one device, it can spread across other networks. So what happens is, then in the worst case, it can potentially disrupt the entire system or services. So if the services and the systems are not available, then it's going to affect the availability of the services. So if you can't get the services from your service provider, so that means that you're not going to like, they might end up losing their clients as well, and then it affects their reputation as well. So because of the system corruption, there could be like huge financial losses in terms of losing customers, and also sometimes like it might be like a long-term impact as well. I mean, if they lose their customers, and if they go and join a different service provider, then it will take some time to rebuild their reputation and then attract more customers as well. So the other one is the device interoperability as well. So one thing is, because the IoT devices, they often produce by different manufacturers, and also different manufacturers, they have different standards and protocols. So this is why as I said before as well, it is very, very important looking at the amount of IoT devices that we have. It is important that we have to have a kind of like standardization in place for these devices, because otherwise if different people, if they follow different standards and protocols, it's going to impact in a bad way. So having standardizations in place would also be a good way to address some of these issues associated with IoT devices. And then sorry, I don't know why it's stuck again. Okay, yeah. So and let's look at a bit more challenges associated with IoT devices. So another one is the privacy and security. Again, I think that is one of the critical concerns when we talk about the disadvantages or challenges around the IoT. So I mean, one thing is because IoT devices, they continuously collect data. So this data could be personal data or sensitive data. So and also the other thing is they collect this data without direct user interaction, and also without proper consent from the data subject. So having weak security controls means I mean, it can lead to data breaches, surveillance risks, and also the unauthorized people, they would be able to get access to the devices and the networks. So then that will impact the privacy and security of the data. And then the trust and quality of information as well. So what it means is, because IoT systems rely on data collected from sensors. So imagine, because there could be like, it could be like they might be collecting inaccurate or manipulated or incomplete data. So what it means is, then that leads to poor decision making. So it might be because sometimes these the quality of the data that they collect from sensors can be affected by intentional damage to these sensors, or sometimes it can be just simply unexpected sensor failure can lead to the quality, can affect the quality of the data that they collect. So because we always, like in cybersecurity, we always talk about data integrity, accuracy. So having these having broken sensors or inaccurate or malfunctioning sensors would then affect the decisions or the outputs that they're going to produce using the collected data. So especially like we did talk about the use of IoTs in the healthcare sector, for example, because it is all about like patient's life. By any chance, if they had any failed sensors and if they collected inaccurate information, and then sometimes in the worst case scenario, it can even affect someone's life. So that again, that is something that they have to be extremely careful. The other one is the exchange of data between the IoTs and consumers. So the you need to make sure that you have to do it in a secure and a trusted manner, because data often travels across like multiple networks and also the platforms. So what it means is, like, if you have the data sets in one place, like data storage, so I think it is secure compared to moving data from across different networks. Because when you have data in one place, probably we can use like a layered approach in order to protect the data set. But if the data is traveling across multiple networks, that is a challenge, because there is a high exposure to the bad actors. So I mean, unless we have like strong encryption, authentication, or could be like secure protocols, protecting the data that travels across these multiple networks is a huge challenge. But that is something that they need to be mindful and identify ways to protect the data. And then the protection mechanisms for vulnerable devices as well. So this can be sometimes like, because as I said, where there's a very high demand, and sometimes the supplier, they fail to meet that demand, and also the affordability as well. Because I mean, because of that reason, if you do a little bit of search, you might be able to find some of the IoT devices. Some are at a very, very low cost, and some are very, very expensive. But the idea is to cater to a bigger market. But I'm not going to say that all the IoT devices that are that offer to a reasonable price, they have security issues. But it is up to us as well as the buyers to just make sure that when we buy these devices, they have proper security features integrated. Because otherwise, you can be even susceptible to issues like malware attacks, or even the DDoS attacks. And the data management, I think I did discuss that in the previous slide, so I'm going to skip that. So that is mainly in line with the existing data protection mechanisms and etc. And device energy consumption, again, that then leads to the environment sustainability, environment protection as well. So again, that is a kind of challenge that we face. And then we also have issues related to IoT network requirements. So I think I did mention that the connectivity is one of the biggest things when we talk about the IoTs. You have to have a constant connection in order to share data. So the positive side is it has the ability to connect large number of IoT devices, which is great, and then it has the ability to collect a lot of different type of data, and then that data would be used to make decisions. But the on the other side, the challenge is the ability to, if they do not have the ability to secure the all these connected devices. So that is one of the challenges. So as you have seen, the number of the connected devices, they increase, and then the network becomes harder to manage as well. So, and then it kind of like prompt towards vulnerabilities such as like unauthorized people getting access. It could be device hijacking. So that is one of the downsides that they have. And then the reliability side as well. So as you know, the reliability is one of the crucial factors. So especially for like IoT applications in smart cities and the use of IoTs in healthcare, even transportation system. So having high reliability is important. So network failures, or it could be even the disruptions, they can lead to service outages or even safety risks as well. And then the real-time awareness with low latency, it's mainly because like many IoT systems, they require immediate responses. But if there are any delays in data transmission, so that basically it's not going to serve the purpose. So because it reduces the effectiveness, and also in the worst case scenario, it can cause even system failures as well. And the other thing is to secure all the traffic flows. So because otherwise it will then leads to security concerns. So as I said before, it could be like they're transmitting sensitive sensitive data. So having weak encryption or poor authentication means that they expose these systems to data breaches or to cyber attackers or the perpetrators. So and also the ability to customize these IoT applications. So on one side it is good, but on the other hand, because of that, it can sort of like open up security risks or introduce security risks as well. So on one side, like if you poorly configured or if you have like insecure software, that can then create vulnerabilities, and then the attackers, what they do is they will try to exploit these vulnerabilities. So having customization is good, but if they're going to do that, they're going to be a bit careful about those things. And then traffic monitoring and management, especially at the device level. So basically, it is important to detect any unusual behavior or cyber threats. So however, monitoring like millions and billions of devices in real time, it's impossible sometimes. It's very complex, and also the resource driven as well. So and the other one is I did mention about the affordability. So sometimes low cost connectivity for a large number of devices. So that can be another challenge associated with the security side. So I mean, many of the IoT devices, they are assigned to be in they are not very expensive, but there are like some IoT devices, they're very expensive. So when you use or when you buy those devices, you got to check the inbuilt security features, or whether they have got any security features, because otherwise if they don't have those inbuilt security features, then that can also attract the perpetrators. So when you buy those devices, you have to make sure that you get those from a reputable supplier, and you need to make sure that they have inbuilt security features in order to protect the data. So before I finish the presentation, I would like to sort of like briefly discuss a couple of real-world IoT incidents as well. So I mean, obviously, these are not well within the last 5 years, but I think it is good to know or get to know about these attacks, because one thing is there are lessons that we can learn from these attacks that had happened previously. So Mirai botnet attack, I think it is very, very popular. Probably some of you might have heard about that. So in that particular malware attack, what happened was it infected thousands of insecure IoT devices, which includes like webcams, routers, especially the routers which used default usernames and the passwords. So these devices were like turned into botnets, and then they basically the attackers, they used them to launch distributed denial of attacks. So I mean, I think in that particular incident, it disrupted actually major websites. I think it did impact Twitter, Netflix, because of like how poorly secured IoT devices can basically threaten the stability of the entire network. So I think the key message or the key lesson that we can learn from that is the weak authorization and lack of device protection can lead to large scale cyber attacks. It's not just impacting probably only their organization, but if they have like a network of computers, and then probably it can like spread beyond one network as well. So that is why you got to be a bit careful there. And then the other one in 2015 is Jeep Cherokee hack. So in this particular instance, what happened was they remotely hacked the Jeep through its internet connected entertainment system. So what they did was they did manage to sort of like control vehicle steering, brakes, and also they said that the transmission as well. But the most dangerous thing was they did those things when the vehicle was in move. So as you can imagine, because obviously it can, even in the worst case scenario, obviously it can cause collision, and then probably someone can even lose their life. So I think the key lesson from that is like, if you have vulnerable IoT system, that can even cause physical risks to the users. So, and then again, that raised serious concerns about the one thing is IoT security in connected vehicles, and also the public safety as well. There are two more examples, so I'm not going to specify those examples, because if you read literature, you would be able to see, like recently we have seen a lot of like breaches associated with smart home camera systems. And actually there have been like multiple instances. So in those instances, what the attackers did was they accessed the smart home cameras, and also what do you call the baby monitors. So mainly what the cybersecurity experts said was like, due to the weak passwords or poor encryption, the attackers, they managed to get access to these cameras in smart homes. So when they experts, when they interviewed the victims, what they have said is they have heard like strangers speaking through those devices or spying on in private spaces as well. So I think these are some of the incidents which clearly demonstrate the privacy risks associated with the consumer IoT devices. I think the danger of these incidents is it can even lead to things like someone try to suicide is because of, I mean, who would want to have a who would want someone spying on them when they are at home, for example, and then it can even damage someone's reputation. So these are some of the things that the developers, they have to carefully consider when they are designing and when they're releasing these products to the market, just to make sure that they have the proper security systems in place to avoid worst case scenarios. I think the lessons that we can learn from that particular instance is poor security designs, they obviously can lead to severe privacy breaches. And then in the worst case scenario, it can affect individuals in different ways. So that is why we have to be extremely careful. And then the healthcare IoT vulnerabilities, again, it is a little bit similar to the previous instance, because in the healthcare sector, we are dealing with humans' life. So vulnerabilities that they have found in the connected medical devices. It could be like, for example, insulin pipe for insulin pumps, or it could be a heart monitor. So I mean, if the attackers, if they manage to exploit those vulnerabilities, the attackers, if they can alter the device settings, or if they try to edit the patient data stored on those devices, then that means it basically threatens patients' safety, and also, I mean, in general, trust in the entire healthcare IoT systems as well. So we got to be extremely careful. Like, I mean, it is a good thing to use IoTs in those sectors, but especially like in like healthcare sector, transportation sector, when you're using IoT devices, we have to be mindful about the issues associated with those devices, and we have to think how we're going to overcome those issues as well. And then the key lessons is like, IoT devices handling sensitive data, that they require higher security standards, and also the people who are developing these devices, they have to have standardizations in place to make sure that these kind of like vulnerabilities won't happen in the future. I think the other one is because we have talk about the smart cities, and then we have seen like instances where smart failures have happened in the sensor systems. So I mean, most of the smart city development, they heavily rely on the sensors. So it could be like faulty or poor calibrated sensors can basically capture data incorrectly. So then what it means is that will lead to inefficient management, or making inaccurate decisions or incorrect decisions as well. So you have to be very careful, especially like IoT systems. They have to ensure that whatever the data they collect is accurate and reliable, because they will be using that data to make predictions, make decisions. Sometimes those decisions might be directly related to someone's life. So that is why you have to make sure that these IoT devices, they operate without vulnerabilities, and also there are no faulties or issues which are going to affect the collection of the data. Okay, so sorry, again my system is stuck. Okay, yeah, I think that's it from my side. Obviously, before I finish my presentation, so in my presentation, I basically covered a little bit about IoTs in general, and then we briefly talked about IoEs, and then did a comparison, and then we looked at the history and how things have evolved, and then we did talk about the key technologies associated with the IoTs, because as I said, sometimes like there would be issues and challenges associated with the technologies related to IoTs, not necessarily IoTs itself. And then we talked about the use of IoTs across different sectors to highlight how much this has been used across the different sectors, and also we try to identify the advantages. And as you have clearly seen, there are lots of positives, lots of benefits these IoTs can offer individuals, states, and also the organizations, without any doubt. And then we also discuss about the disadvantages, challenges, and privacy and security risks. Lastly, something that I wanted to highlight is looking at the existing challenges and the privacy and security risks associated with IoTs, having technical mechanisms in place, like asking people to have strong passwords, having encryption mechanisms in place, and etc. would help. But at the same time, it is important that we have to have regulations in place to standardize the creation of these devices, and to govern the use of these devices. And also it is important to educate people on these technologies, as well as the issues associated with these technologies, to make sure that they use these technologies in a mindful way to avoid any issues associated with privacy and security risks. Okay, so that's it from my side, and thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. But you're more than welcome to ask questions you may have.
Hello.
Participants, is
Hi.
there any query?
Hello. Hello. Am I
Yes.
audible, sir? Hello.
Yeah.
Ma'am, am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Ma'am, this is Professor Dr. Naveen Rathi.
Oh, hi.
Yes, sir.
Dr.
Please ask your question.
Thank you, Dr. Vibhushain, for such a wonderful interaction on IoT. But I have a very query on related to industrial IoT. As
Mhm.
I've seen that these systems, industrial IoT specifically, I'm talking, they're very critical to manufacturing safety, ma'am, and rather operational continuity also. Because I've seen there's industrial devices, they always lack built-in security because of the legacy designs, maybe using the equipments which are non-proprietary, and this maybe because of that, a cyber attack in one component, it can propagate across the entire production network. So how to balance those security with the low latency and real time control requirements? Because I have seen production shutdowns is a major reason for this industrial IoT, and safety hazards to the workers is another, because nobody is ready for that financial and reputational losses. So because security and trust management plays a very important role as far as the smart manufacturing is being concerned. What's your take on this, ma'am? How to balance those security?
Yeah, that's a very good question, Professor Naveen. I think this is why this is my opinion. I strongly believe having technical mechanisms wouldn't be sufficient. So this is why I think having a standardizations in place would help. So for an example, like as I mentioned, in GDPR, we emphasize the importance of having privacy by design and privacy by default principle. So I think because I know GDPR is basically for EU region.
Yeah.
But when we're talking about IoTs and the use of IoTs, it goes beyond the national level. So that is why I think it is important to have globalized standard procedures in place that not necessarily affecting one or two organizations, but affecting everyone in order to govern this, because just having the technology mechanisms, I don't think that would be sufficient. So I think the
No,
best
even in
approach.
yeah, doctor, even in Mercedes, I have seen they have purchased an IoT device integrated on different types of layers, which was being sold through the Amazon. We have purchased it, but by the time we put it into the actual equipment utilization, there was a complete data breach. Because and then we came to know that it was a non-IP equipment. So how to trust? That is a big issue.
Yeah, I totally agree. And that's a very good question, Professor Naveen, because the problem is sometimes there are compatibility issues as well. Because
Yeah,
I mean, it is up to the organization as well. Sometimes, like I mean, in general, people would love to welcome these new technologies, but have they done a risk assessment to identify what they have
yeah.
in place?
Mm,
Because obviously if what we have is the infrastructure what we have is not
mm,
compatible with whatever the new technology that we're going to bring in, so that creates additional vulnerabilities as well. So I think before we go ahead, it is important that to make sure do a proper risk assessment to understand what we have, and if we try to bring them on board, what are the like compatibility issues. And also, instead of trying to bring introduce these new technologies to the organization, I mean as a whole, if we can like use a in business continuity management, we talk about like sorry business change management, we talk about like phase stages. So probably like selecting a department and then you integrating the technology into that department to see to roll out that technology into that department and see how it sort of like continues with existing technologies and how it process and etc. And then they can sort of like try and introduce it to the other departments as well. So at least then the impact would be limited. So as you clearly said, if you try to integrate it into the entire organization and if there's a data breach, it's going to affect the entire organization. But if
yeah.
we try to use just one department and try to integrate and then see how it goes, and then if it fits the if it fits the organization requirements and the security mechanisms in place, then probably they can roll out to other departments as well.
Yeah, because scaling among the different plants, that is a major issue because it increases the system interdependency and then you want to upgrade the system, then again downtime will also be there. It will again leads to the reduction in the production. That is again a major issue, ma'am. Because I feel in complex systems only this can be a major issues.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I mean,
Thank you.
yeah.
Thank you, doctor. Thank
Yeah,
you, ma'am. Thank you so much.
madam,
No
I'm
worries.
Dr.
Thanks,
Vinayak.
Professor Naveen.
Madam, I'm Dr. Vinayak here. I have
Oh,
one
hi.
question. Yeah, can you quote a recent incident where the IoT has caused havoc in the health sector, where it caused a loss of lives?
Oh, no. They have, I mean, no, it hasn't actually caused any loss of lives. But what the research says, there are like potentials, like if we don't regulate these IoT devices, then it can sort of like affect those sectors in negative ways. So, I mean, like it could be because of the amount of devices that we use. If we don't regulate them and if we don't make sure that we have standardized protocols in place when we create those devices, it can affect the people's life. For an example, for a case study, I use the healthcare sector, because I mean we use like pacemakers, smart inhalers. I mean, because we deal with humans life. So it's not like if something goes wrong in a IoT device which we use in your home, it won't have a direct impact on someone's life. But healthcare sector is a different ball game, isn't it? Because we deal with humans life. So the impact wise, the impact on the healthcare sector is very serious if we don't govern these devices properly, compared to probably the smart devices that we use in an education sector.
Okay, okay. Fine.
Any other questions?
Any queries, sir?
Madam, are there any regulatory bodies set up for IoT in medical care?
I haven't studied the regulation specifically applies to the IoTs in the healthcare sector, but I definitely know there are regulations around like governing the use of IoT devices in general. Any more questions?
I think there are no more questions. I think we can wind up the session. So I
Okay,
thank Madam for sharing your expertise on IoT. I hope the participants have benefited very much from your session. So you have discussed about the advantage of using the IoT and also the challenges involved, and mainly regarding the security challenges involved in the IoT. So I hope the participants can make use of the challenges involved in their research work and continue with their research work. So thank you very much, madam, for accepting our invitation and giving a very good session. Thank you, madam.
yeah, no problem. It's my pleasure. Thank you so much for having me, Sujata.
Thank you, madam.
Thank you.
Thank you all the participants. And tomorrow we'll be having a session by Dr. Hawaji, who will be discussing about the machine learning and the use of machine learning and cyber security in IoT.